today I'm going to talk about knowing how many pairs of bobbins to wind for your patterns. It's a question that a lot of beginners ask when they're going to start a new pattern, but as you get more experience you worry a little bit less about this. So it's easy to get hung up on it when you first start. So we'll start looking at this torsion pattern. This is quite a straightforward pattern that beginners would work quite early on in the lace making, once they've actually learnt the first 2 stitches. I have done a separate video on this pattern, so you can actually see how to make it as well. The other 2 patterns I'll look at are Bedfordshire, and they're a little bit more complicated but follow the similar sort of principles. So we know that this pattern is going to start at a point, and we know we're going to have 1 pair in each direction. And then we know from doing this type of pattern before, hopefully, that you're going to add 1 pair down each of these pins. So I'm going to count on a diagonal line, knowing that as I'm adding 1 this side, I'll be doing the same that side. So I'll then double it. So I now want 2 there. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And I know I'm going to need an extra 1, possibly 2, to add into the cloth stitch. So it's going to either be 12 or 14, because you'll add 6 this side, 6 that side, or 7 and 7. Now sometimes on torsion you'll put 2 pairs in, you'll have 1 as a passive and 1 as the worker, so that it enables you to fill up the fans quite well. Other times, particularly when you're first starting, I would just drop 1 pair in here to become the worker. So this pattern will take 12 pairs. And the other thing that, again, beginners particularly get worried about is the amount of thread to put in your bobbins. This pattern, you probably put about 1 metre on each of the bobbins, so 2 metres between a pair, and a little bit more for the workers, because the workers go backwards and forwards, whereas the others are just going diagonally. They're coming in and dropping out, so they're not doing as much work as the workers. Whenever you work a pattern though, if you run out, don't worry, you can replace it, and that's the subject of another video. So that's the basic how to do it on a torsion pattern that is quite geometric, slightly more difficult to judge when you come on to a Bedfordshire pattern or a floral book's point pattern. Now, judging the number of pairs on a piece like this, which is a little motif taken from Barbara Underwood's Introducing Traditional Bedfordshire in 20 Lessons, this one is a little bit more tricky to work out. It's a floral pattern, so you may be putting extra pairs in and throwing pairs out during the pattern. However, we know we're going to start here, there's an arrow indicating it, and we know we need 2 pairs for workers. And we also need 3 pairs to go in each direction. So straight away, that's 8 pairs. We're adding 2 pairs in for each of these. So that's 8, 10, 12. We're adding 2 more in here, 14, 16. Now this one you've got to work out which way you're going across, but whichever way it goes, that'll be another 2 pairs. So that's 18. There'll be 2 coming out here, 20. And then the rest at that point, up to there, are already in the pattern. Now as you come to this leaf, again you will need more pairs in here, and there's 2 coming out, so that's 22 plus maybe 2 in there, 24. After you've done the crossing, that goes in and comes back out, that one comes in and goes back out. These 2 are again in and out, that one's out. You may need 2 more pairs in here, so 26. And you're definitely going to need some more in here. So we maybe say 30 up to this point. And 30 is a starting point. This was the leaf I was talking about, you definitely need more. And 30 is a good starting point. and then you may end up winding a few more at the bottom, but possibly not. It just depends how it works. And this is the thing with floral, you don't get hung up too much about how many pairs you've got to have to start or how many pairs you've got to have to finish the whole thing. It's just how many you need to get started. So on this one I would wind 30 pairs initially with the thread you're going to use, but have the thread with spare bobbins in case you need a few more as you finish. And the last pattern I just want to briefly look at is an antique pricking that's in my collection, and it is one that you need to know a little bit about Bedfordshire before you would tackle. So I would look at this and see how it's going to be worked, particularly the centre here. And you've got a lot of leaves, so on here we've got 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. So having 8 here, I know that I'm going to have 4 pairs, 4 leaf tallies coming in, and probably 4 are going to go out, is a reasonable assumption. On the circle you've got a lot more. So we'll start at this one. I'll just put that there so I can work out where I've started from. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We've got 16. So on this you would work out where halfway was, knowing that you're probably going to have 8 coming in and 8 going out, just to balance it up. And you've got to watch how the crossings are going to work, all sorts of tricky things in the middle there. So on this one, I would start at the top. I know I've got a plait coming down there, so that's 2 pairs. I've got this one coming in and going out, so that's another 2 pairs, that's 4. I'm probably going to need 4 for that trail and 4 for this. So that's 12 we're up to now. We've got a secondary trail here, but this one's going to be joining and going back out, so that doesn't need any extras at the moment. So we're still up to 12 here. The other thing here, we've got little plaits. Now we've got one coming in, or one coming out of this trail, and then it's probably going to drop back across. So that makes 14. But this one hasn't come from anywhere, so that's an added one. That's 16. And then we've got to look at how many we're going to add here. This one's dropped into the trail, so that will be that one. But 2 more added here, that's 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, possibly. Or is that going to be going the other way? 28, that one comes through. That's probably going to go there and go that way, and then it'll come round. So you can see how it builds up. And then obviously you're going to add a lot more. So I think I said up to 26. There was a lot of pairs here because you've got added pairs coming in. But again, some of this you will work out as you go. So for a pattern like this, I would probably wind somewhere in the region of 30 to 40 pairs to get me started, and then wind more as I need to. Really, you only need to know roughly how many you're going to need on a bigger piece that's more floral, so that you've got enough to get you started. It's very rare that you would wind the entire amount of bobbins for a bigger piece of floral before you start, because floral means that you're going to put pairs in, and then when you finish working them, as it gets narrower down here, they'll be thrown out. They'll take into the trail and pairs will be thrown out. And if it's a big piece of Bedfordshire or Buck's Point and you're doing this, you can then rewind them. So one thing I always say to students, if you're working floral lace and you're winding the pairs of bobbins, wind a lot of thread on one of the bobbins and a small amount on the second. And that way, when you've finished with working with them and they're thrown out, you can bring a short length off the full one and wind it on the empty one. I hope that's been helpful in showing you how to look at patterns for counting up the number of pairs you need. Give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment, and anything else you want to see, just let me know in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel and click notifications to hear of new videos coming soon. Thanks for watching.